Boy, the lack of sound is kind of creepy, ain't it? Hello everyone, Surat here, and yes, we are going to be Let's Playing Ultima 1. The problem with Let's Playing a game like this is, well, the story is all contained wholly in the manual, and you may get hints and pieces of it from bits and bobs and people and items in-game. In-game didn't have room on the disc to actually put things like, you know, them fancy things like music and story. So, we've seen the title here. That's all you get for the intro to this game, by the way. I'm going to spoil that for you right now. So I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to bring up the manual and we can go over the story together. So just 1 second. Okay, so here's the manual. As you see, it's Ultima 1. The subtitle is The First Age of Darkness. That's going to be very long for me to put in the subtitles, in the titles of these videos, but I will try and see what I can do. So anyway, let's go down page by page here. This is the thanks. Lord British is the pseudonym of one Richard Garriott. So you can take how he's thanking himself for his own brilliant programming efforts, however you want to. But anyway, yeah, this copy of the game is not the original. This is the second version of it, I believe. The original was made in 1980, as you see, by Richard Garriott. Down below, well, I can't really highlight it with this tool. Dang it. Foxit Reader does not make things easy on me. But it was picked up in 1986 by Origin, who decided to give it a fresh coat of paint and give it some fancy graphics like the castle scene you saw right there. Anyway. Somehow I went all the way to the end. That was the end. I should not have seen it, but anyway. So, the story here. The adventure. Hail, noble one. Our land is in need of a stalwart hero, one who will brave perils too horrific to consider. A plague has befallen the realm, a scourge is upon the land. Our villages lie sacked, ruinous mounds of asses, where once trod peasants, stout of heart and sound of mind, where once lay fields of grain and fruit, where keen and foul grew fat upon the bounties of our fair Caesarea. All matters of vile and wicked creatures prey upon our people and ravage the land. 'Tis the doing of one so evil that the very earth trembles at the mention of his name. Mondane the wizard, cue the earthquake, because apparently that's what happens when you say his name, hath wrought his malice well. Our nobles bicker amongst themselves, and each hath retired to the confines of his keep in hopes of watching the downfall of his rivals. Verily, the evil one has heaped, that's supposed to be has, not hat, heaped indignity upon curse by releasing upon the realm a host of creatures and beasts so bloodthirsty and wicked that our defenseless people fall as grain before the reaper's scythe. These denizens of the underworld hold sway over all that can be surveyed, save for the strongholds of the nobles besotted with their own ambition. Nowhere in our once peaceful country may a traveler find safe passage or lodging, save in the keeps of the self-proclaimed kings, and they demand hard labors for their indulgences. Only the young Lord British remains steadfast in the vision of a peaceful and united Caesarea. In his castle and his town, the pure of heart will find an ally and replenishment for the needs of one who hath chosen to fight for the realm. Aid us in ridding our land of the scourge that hath befallen us, O noble one. We beseech thee, for without thine aid we shall surely perish before the onslaught of the maleficent necromancer. Slay the evil Mondane! And the earth quakes again. They need to stop mentioning his name in the title, apparently. So yeah, there's your story. Let's take a real quick peek through the rest of this, because I'm going to bring up something very soon. We learn about the different types of race your character can be, and yes, the character generation system. We learn about the different professions, all 4 of them, to go with 4 different races. Castles and towns are mentioned, even though they're mentioned in the story. We get a picture there. We hear shops that have, well, arms, weapons, magic, transportation, food, and pubs. We hear about the dungeons which we have to enter to go do various things. And we hear about star walking. Yeah, this game has space travel. I'll let you ponder that one on your own. But yes, space travel. Anyway, we will get there when we get there. And it actually is a fun little mini game they put in this game for the space travel. It reminds me of an old Atari 2600 game I used to play a lot. But anyway, we hear about the magic, and we actually get quick descriptions of the spells, which I'll be going over once we actually see these in game a little bit. We get the bestiary, which has just about all the different types of enemies we can hope to encounter or hope to not encounter. And then we get back to the thank you page where Richard Garriott thanks himself for his work. Yeah, take it that what you will. So, I'm going to pause the video again, put the game back up, and then we are going to actually talk a little bit about character creation and a few of the in-game mechanics. So, just 1 second here. Okay, we are now back to here. Also notice the entire time I've had the story in front of us, the manual, that the game is playing and there's still no music. Yeah, there's no music in this game. Old games have this problem. So anyway, now I've already got the first character ready to go. However, we're going to generate a new one. And what we get to do here is, well, basically, we get to distribute our points. We get 30 points to distribute among these 6 different stats. So just 1 second here. Yeah, sorry about that, I had to check something. So, the stats here, they look like your standard Dungeons and Dragons little setup here, and they kinda are. Your strength just says how much damage you do when you hit with a weapon. Your agility is how easy it is to hit and steal in the game, because you can steal, although it's not really all that useful. Stamina means higher defense, and you can get armor to benefit this, but stamina in and of itself will be much more useful than the armor you wear. Charisma affects how much things cost to purchase from shops. Wisdom means how easy it's going to be to actually cast a spell. We'll get into spells later. Probably not this video, probably the next one, because we got a lot to go over here. And intelligence both gives you the ability to sell things for more, and it boosts how well your spells do. It boosts damage and the like. Now, 5 of these stats are, well, they're really, really easy to boost up. Strength is probably the hardest one to boost up out of the 6 stats. We'll go over why in a minute, but just know that that's the hardest one. But to start out, what you actually want to do, you want to give yourself 15 points in charisma, because remember, that affects the shop prices. Actually, in this case, let's go ahead and give ourselves 15 points in intelligence. Because we're not going to be buying anything yet. We're going to be selling a lot of stuff, but not buying it. And then just for yucks, I did not do that with the starting character, but 25 strength. Okay? Because strength is the toughest one to raise, so we might as well get the free points here as we can. Now, spacebar. Now, what are the differences in the 4 races? Well, humans get some extra intelligence. Elves get some extra agility. Dwarves get some extra strength. And the bobbits get 10 wisdom, but they take 5 strength penalty. Yeah, humans get a 5 intelligence bonus, elf 5 agility, dwarf 5 strength, bobbit 10 wisdom, but you subtract 5 strength from them. Obviously, bobbit is controversially the worst class for this game, but just because it doesn't matter, because we're not keeping this character anyway, we're going to be a dwarf. moves our strength higher, because that's good. The sex, absolutely no effect whatsoever on the character whatsoever. And then fighter, cleric, wizard, or thief. Okay, so this one, the fighter would get you more strength. And make it, you know, that's about it. It gets you strength and agility. It gets you strength and agility bonus. That's it. The cleric has a thing where their spells cannot fail in the overworld. Hopefully you are not fighting a lot in the overworld. We will go over this later. So that kind of makes that weak, but it gives you a 10 wisdom bonus. Yeah. The wizard gets spells no one else can get. There are 4 spells at the top end of the tier list that only wizards can cast. And they also get a 10 intelligence modifier. The thief, well, the thief gets an agility bonus. Can kind of just ignore traps that are in the dungeons, in the chests in the dungeons. And a 10 agility bonus, and an increased chance to steal something, if there's something there to be stolen. So, out of these 4 things, being a fighter doesn't get you access to any higher level swords or armor. Being a cleric gives you one unique spell that nobody else has that's called Pray, that from everything I remember, it's kind of annoying because it's kind of it's kind of a random, you just kind of roll on a random chart for it basically whenever you use it. So it's not great. Not great. So for this game, the best character to actually be is a wizard. Believe it or not. So yeah, we're gonna take wizard and enter thy name. And we'll call him Lamb for short. Now, before we actually get to see the character that I created, Surat there, of course, we're going to load up Lamb here. Lamb starts just kind of chilling out next to a forest. You can walk in the forest, and if you see over there, there is a town. The one that looks like it has kind of a dirt patch under it with a blue flag, and the castle which has a red flag. So, we have, if you look in the lower right corner, we have 150 hit points, we have 195 food, we have no experience, and we have 100 coins. Right now, we aren't going to be buying much of anything. As for example, something that hasn't come up yet, how do I do things? Besides deal with this noise, this type of noise is the only thing you get sound-wise in the entire game. It grates on me after a while, but we will have to turn it, but, you know, we can turn it off. We will need to turn it back on before we go in the dungeon, because the dungeons are a 3D space. You'll see what I mean when we get there. And the only way you can actually tell if you're getting hit is by sound. Really. That's the only way you can tell if something's attacking you and missing or something like that. But anyway, this is a town. We have a weapon store, we have an armor store, and luckily walking around does not consume food while we're in a town. It does in the overworld. Right now, every 2 steps we take consumes a food. If our food hits 0, we keel over from starvation, no matter how many hit points we have. So, food is going to be something that's fairly important to deal with. We can buy transportation. At this point is a horse, a cart, a raft, or a frigate. Once we take so many steps in-game, you know, we just walk around towns and all that, these lists of things we can buy will expand. So let's check here. And we could buy chainmail, which would leave us nearly broke and just enough to get a little bit of food here. We could do that. We're not going to, but we could. We can look at the weapons here. We can buy a mace, which is slightly better than what we have, or a rope and spikes, which is an item that they probably shouldn't have left in here because it's not all that useful, and it's mostly a thing if you have one equipped, you can get out of traps, get out of floor traps in the dungeons. The dungeons don't have floor traps here. Go figure. Anyway, we can go buy food. And food is something that's actually really important. So for 4 pence we can get 10 food. So I'm going to go ahead and buy... I'm going to go ahead and buy 10 packs. Just to make sure we don't starve while we're walking out in the area. We could go up here to the magic shop, where we get basically the chance to buy scrolls. If we were not a wizard, the bottom 2 there would not be around. I'm pretty sure it is those 2 that are the ones that are not available to a non-wizard. There are other towns which have a completely different selection of spell scrolls here. And yes, each spell scroll only has 1 use, so if you want to use 2 ladder down spells or 2 magic missile, you gotta buy 2 of them. We won't be doing that right now. And in the pub here, we could transact, we could buy, we pay a coin, and the tavern keeper says, here, have a cold one. I believe we can get drunk if we spend enough time there, but generally, we're not going to get much out of the pubs. Every now and then they will say something useful after you've bought so many ales from them, but in general, not that great. And to go in here, we now have the main thrust of where we're going to find most of our stuff to do. We have... These dudes are guards. If we get into a fight with one right now, he will slaughter us in pretty short order. The dude bouncing around up there is a jester. If you have excess weapons or armor on you, he will steal them from you if he's standing next to you. Above him, down below the inn, made out of blocks, is the king. And in here, in prison, is a princess. We'll worry about the princesses later, because right now, that's something we don't have to deal with for a very, very long time. We're going to talk with the king. Does you offer pence or service? Well, right now we can offer pence. So we're not going to offer much. We're going to offer 1 just because we're kind of broke. And he gives you a hit point. Yeah, this is one way to get hit points. To to increase your hit points. There are no heal spells in this game. Not a one. But if we were to take service, say, because I'm not keeping this character around for very long, I can't really delete the save very easily, but I can do this. We're going to offer service. And he says, go find the grave of the lost soul and do not return here until your quest is done. So we would have to go find the marker called the grave of the dark soul or whatever it is. And then we would have to just be there. I guess we take a selfie or something. Then we come back to the king and he rewards us with a little bit of money. And that is how you increase the strength ability. It's one of the 2 ways. But doing all this is kind of for suckers. And I'll tell you why. Because while you're out there getting your ass kicked, all that, every time you die, it zeroes out your food, your hit points, and your coins. Back down to 0. There's an easier way to get things. And it's right here. These 3 pawns in this castle have a pretty big goddamn secret to them. One of them, if we choose to drop pence and drop 10, it says Shazam. And if I'd had the sound on, you would get this really grating sound that comes with it. But let's pull up our inventory. And it has given us a phaser. Yeah, phaser. You know, Star Trek, phaser. Remember, I said there was space travel here. We just got a really goddamn powerful gun. Let's do that again. And see what else it gives us. It gives us an F. So that's not great. You know, it's fine. What are we going to do with it? Well, we are going to do a couple of things with it. One, we're going to walk over here. We're going to walk over to the weapon shop. And we are going to, first, we're going to sell the staff. Sell the phaser. And notice we're back up to close to 100 coin. So, the smart way to get money in this game is to go to that little pond, trade in as many stacks of 10 gold as you can to get all the weapons, and once you get all the weapons, you come here, you sell them, and reap the benefits. But what do you do with all this money, besides buying thousands and thousands of spells and all that? Well, right here is a pond. Notice that all of our stats, 30, 10, 10, 10, 10, 35. We are going to drop 10 pence in here. We hear another Shazam, and now you notice that our agility has gone up by 1. For every 10 coins you drop in this pond, you get a random stat increase, but the stat increases don't count strength. They do not include strength. The stat increases, agility, stamina, charisma, wisdom, intelligence, it will drop, like I said, 1 boost for every 10 points you spend, every 10 coins you spend, into one of those 5 stats. Your maximum stat is 99, so there is a limit to how much you can do this, but before you actually go do a damn thing in this game, you can sell a whole bunch of money, grab a whole bunch of weapons out of a pond. I assume they were lobbed at you by, you know, the aquatic bent. I assume you had, yes, Monty Python references, sue me. I assume they were lobbed at you by the Lady of the Lake there. You take them, you sell them, you get a whole bunch of money. You take that money, you go back to the pond and restock weapons. Anything that's left over, you spend at this pond and get, well, stat increases. And then with anything you want to spend there, you can go to the king and pay for hit point increases. And then you can buy stacks of 100. You can buy 100 of every spell in the game. You can buy whatever suits, etc., etc. But as you're making these trips, these stacks of the shops are also increasing. So eventually they will have the good stuff for sale. The good modes of transport, the good suits, the good weapons, even though you will have all the weapons you'll ever want and never need to actually buy one. But yeah. And if you're wondering, why do we have an experience level? That's a really good question. Experience level, how should we say? Experience level is nearly useless. The experience level does one thing and one thing mostly. It increases the difficulty of the monsters that appear in the overworld. That's most of what the experience level actually does. Just 1 second here. Sorry about that, had to see to something. But yeah, experience points, they increase your level. Every 1,000 experience points you get, you go up a level. The levels do nothing to your stats. However, you will have to be at least level 8 to finish the game. That's the thing, you have to at least raise your experience to level 8 to finish the game. But it does absolutely nothing else for you. So, going out and fighting monsters to gain a bunch of gold to pay for everything increases your experience, which only really makes things more difficult for you and doesn't do anything else. It's not like you gain more. It's not like you gain less experience by killing weak monsters later than you do earlier. Maybe you do. I've never actually tested, but that's never felt that way to me. So you could still kill this exact same amount of monsters to get 1,000 experience points, and you still level up on weak stuff. But then there's just strong stuff in the overworld. Now, keep in mind, I'm about to call this a video because it's gone on way too long. I will talk about it later. I hope I remember to talk about it. Why monsters in the overworld are not worth fighting. Ever. You do not want to fight in the overworld unless you cannot avoid it. There are reasons for this. And we will go over them hopefully soon enough. But when we come back, my other character will have as maxed attributes as I can get it, as much money as I can get, and as all the transportation I could ever hope for. And, yeah, he won't have done a damn thing for the kings yet. He will be ready to go do things for the kings. The only thing he really needs to do is boost up strength. So, anyway. But yeah, we will talk about that later. So anyway, until then, take care, everyone.